edition of the Buddy Martin Show. I am he. That's why it's called the Buddy Martin Show. Glad to be back with you again tonight. Going to be a good show. We got some great guests, including Mr. College Football, who some of you may have seen earlier today on SEC sidelines. But Tony's my guy, okay? We're going to talk some ball. I want to get back to talking the ball on the field and not so much what's going on in the policies in the back room. So stay tuned for that. Tony's going to be up next. And then Scott Carter will be along because there's been a lot of changes in college basketball and some good ones for Florida. Schedule change looks really good, and some of the rules perhaps too. Having just said I won't talk about policy. And then tonight's special guest, a guy I'm working with a lot lately, Carlton Reese, who's doing a terrific new column called Looking Back on the Gators and also editing Fans Bears basketball. We got all kinds of things going on here at Gator Bay. We're happy you're with us tonight. We're also going to be debuting soon a Panhandle podcast for you folks up here in the area where I'm living most of the time in Panama City. But I haven't forgotten my Ocala people, my Gainesville people. So stay tuned. Coming up next, the great Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. Wasting no time getting right to Mr. College Football. Let's talk about what else. It's June 11th. It's time to talk some football. Other stuff, good stuff going on other places if you're a World Series fan or you're a Murray State fan or one of those 8 teams. But for us, it's time to talk ball, and nobody better to talk it with than my good friend, longtime good colleague, and say it ain't so, Tony. This can't be your last year. Good evening to you, Tony.
Good evening, buddy. It's good to be with you. It's been a full day, so I'm glad I'm finishing it off with you. So
wall to wall, Tony Barnhart today from Rob Brown this morning. And I didn't know Rob was going to have you on, but he did, and I'm glad we could never get too much of Tony. Glad to be with you. And so let's get right to it. I heard you say today that you were, you really wanted to focus on the results, and guys like us who've been around a time or two, and we're a little older, but we also kind of get it because we've been there and done that and seen it. We like to talk about the results on the field when we're constantly talking about what will be. And often when we talk about recruiting, I say, okay, those guys aren't here yet.
mm-hmm.
How about the ones that are here? Let's talk about what they're doing. And we had a wonderful last 4 games to write and talk about last year with Florida. And so I don't know how long that will keep going. We'll talk about it tonight. That schedules, everybody's schedule. But let's talk about this. There's been a bunch of change, as we know. I'm not even going to try to tackle everything, NIL particularly. But when they get on the field, I heard you say today, once they start playing, it's going to be all right.
Yep, and it will be. I mean, once we talk about this stuff now, buddy, because it's all we have to talk about. As Coach Spurs said, this is talking season.
Mm-hmm.
But once the games start, people will not care who's got what NIL deal, where the money comes from. Nobody cares about that. They care about the games. And so until then, we'll talk about it. Things are happening. The landscape has changed. I mean, the fact of the matter is it's a huge historic story when the players are now officially getting paid by the schools. That we all know that. There's a lot more stuff that's going to happen down the road. There's going to be some Title IX stuff that comes up. There's going to be a bunch of lawsuits come. But it's I told a group this morning, and another group, I just said, guys, we're going to get there, and it's not going to be fun. I mean, but we're gonna get there. So I'm not worried about it.
Well, the fun was the reason we started this business. We
Sure.
found out we could get paid and go to ball games. We think, wow,
Amazing, isn't it?
yeah. And I know you've been doing it a long time and doing it at a high level. And so tell folks again that you're not quitting now. You're just
No.
winding down for this final year and taking a victory lap and kind of seeing what's on the other side of the grind that you've been putting out there. What's your plans?
Well, this season will be my 50th covering college football, and you and I talked about this, buddy. It's been very important to me, and talking to my bride Maria, that I sort of get to write my own farewell memo, and I wanted to go out on the way that I wanted to go out, and so finally, after a lot of thought about it and a lot of conversations with Maria, I decided this would be my last season. And I'm going to spend this season, I'm still going to go to a bunch of games, but I'm going to do a lot of stops and sort of call it a thank you tour. I'm going to come to Gainesville and thank all the people that have helped me, like you and Coach Spurrier and Scott Strickland, and on and on and on. And then hit all those. And then we are in talks right now with UGA Press about doing a book off of my last year, and they have showed a lot of enthusiasm. So I think we'll get that done. And so I'll spend this year traveling and writing. Next year the book will be out, and that'll keep me busy for a while. And I'm excited about it. I really am.
What Ernie Banks say? Let's play two. You should write one called "Let's Play 51." Yeah. So that's good. Well, I mean, look, listen, we're so blessed to be in this business, to be alive and well, and having our faculties. Although some people think we're crazy, it takes a lot. I don't want to get mushy here or bore people with the details, because nobody really cares about your late night travels and your missed flights and all the things you went through. They don't care. They just want, give me the story, give me the game, whatever. You had a unique career. You were able to. You had détente. You could cover anybody anywhere, and you did it at a high level at CBS for a long time, and of course the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and your books, and you were able to do it without offending people who were really the other side. You are a Georgia Bulldog, but you didn't flaunt it, and you didn't go in there as a Georgia Bulldog. You went as a journalist. That's a hard term for people to understand. How could you be a fan and a graduate and yet a journalist and be fair? That's what you're talking about. Nobody can be 100% objective, as we know, but be fair. I think must say you're one of the fairest journalists, sports writers I've ever been around, and you have a lot of respect for that. And young people who want to go into business should understand that, number one. And number two, they should understand when they get partnered up, get somebody who can keep you going, keep you and hold your hand through the tough times, understand your bad days, and get you through the days and nights. And that would be a wife or a special somebody. I know you have had that in Miss College football.
Well, thanks. And yeah, we made this decision together. She's been with me since the very beginning. I graduated from Georgia in 1976, and by 1977, midway through, I was married to Maria, and she has looked out for me, because all the sports writers, we can't take care of ourselves. We have we can barely cook and barely clean, but she has helped me a tremendous amount. And 2027 will be number 50 for us, and we're going to take a cruise down the Rhine to celebrate that.
That's a great. I hadn't been there, but my stepson, the sheriff here in Bay County, where I'm residing most of the time in Panama City, just got back from his first vacation ever, and he went on that cruise, and the Viking cruise.
Yep.
And he said it was wonderful.
So yeah, we're very much, and so basically after I'm retired, I'll do whatever traveling I need to do for the book.
Yeah.
And then we'll be starting getting ready. We're going to take the grandchildren on a Disney cruise next March.
Yeah.
And then 2027 we'll do the river cruise.
Tony, what are the 2 or 3 things that you've learned? I know you'll tell us in the book as well. I know one, I'll start with that, and you can fill in the blanks on the other ones. You talked today about the importance of developing relationships. Our generation was all about relationships. You wanted to be respected. You didn't have to be liked necessarily. It'd be nice if you could be liked, but you didn't have to be. But building relationships was an art form. You raised it to an art form. Tell us why it's important and how you did it.
I love to tell this story, particularly when I'm talking to young aspiring journalists, which I get to do from time to time, and they will all ask me, "So, what do you do during the spring and the summer?" I said, "Well, I do a good bit of traveling to sit down with coaches and players, and sort of, there's no game going on, there's no agenda, it's just talking." And they said, "Well, why do you do that?" I said, "Because we do it to build relationships." And buddy, they look at me like, "What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You crazy old man. What are you talking about?" And it's all of. One of my coaches told me a long time ago when I was playing. He said, "Look, it's about the relationship. It doesn't matter if you're in the aluminum siding business or the newspaper business. It's all about relationships, no matter what you're doing." And I learned that lesson early on, and it's served me well.
Where did you learn it from?
Basically, I learned it from some of my professors at Georgia. In my journalism courses there, they said you got to get, because they sent us out on the summer. I mean, I covered the Danielsville City Hall, which is
Oh,
like
yeah.
20 minutes from Athens,
Yeah.
and doing stuff like that. And the professors said, "Look, if you're going to make a living doing this, you can't be burning sources." I learned that from Furman Bisher. You can't burn a source right away just for the sake of one story. It makes no sense. This is you could have this source for your entire career if he's good, if he or she is good. And so that's something that served me well.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, other things that you learned in the 50 years in the business, we are dinosaurs roaming the earth now. It's a whole different kind of thing than when we came aboard. And it's not necessarily better or worse. I mean, it's still good. They get to go to ball yards and write about ball players and teams. It's a little different. The relationships are different. But tell me about other things you'll take away when they put you in the ground and they say, "Tony, give us your final story." What will it be about in terms of what you learned? You learned those two things. What else?
Well, one of my mentors at the Greensboro, North Carolina newspaper was a gentleman by the name of Irwin Smallwood, who was the managing editor of the newspaper, came back to be sports editor and finished as managing editor. And I was doing sort of my exit interview when I was leaving Greensboro, North Carolina to come to the AJC. He said, "Let me tell you two things, Tony." He said, "Number one, always be skeptical, but never be cynical." And think about that. He said,
Oh, yeah.
"A good reporter is always skeptical about what you tell him. Well, how do you know that? How is that true? Do you have an axe to grind? Why are you giving me this information? Do you have it? Good? Is it good? Is it okay?" Okay, so always be skeptical, but never be cynical. It's easy to be cynical. Y'all, that's the easy way out. So that's number one. And number two, and it gets a little colorful here. He says, if you're writing about a horse race, bring on the effing horse. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It means get to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Let the reader, give him a reason in the first paragraph why he should spend his time writing what you want to say.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
get to the horse right away. But those two things have been with me a long time.
Great advice. I know that young Mark Kistler, when he started the Denver Post as a reporter, we hired him. I got a chance to write a column. And he asked me about it one day. Remember the great Will Grimsley?
Oh yes,
He
absolutely.
was a master. I mean, it was a hard news reporter for Associated Press, but he was a master at getting in things in his lead. He told me something way many years ago. And I traveled some with Will and went to some places with him. Went to Puerto Rico and covered Roberto Clemente's family or whatever. But he said that he learned, because back in those days you had no way of getting feedback, but except in the AP, how your story got played or in the newspapers around the country. He found out if you mentioned somebody famous high up in the story, your chances were infinitely better of getting that that story place. For instance,
Sure.
when you're at Augusta, always put Jack Nicholson, Arnold Palmer in your first few paragraphs. And I told Mark Kisler, you get a whole lot worse than putting John Elway in the top of your column. He lived by that. He told me for a long time, and he used that. So it is. We're growing. The marquee names tend to get draws in the stories. All right, enough of yesterday. Let's talk about today. And we've gone over these. The magazines are out now. You're hearing. You can get all kinds of predictions. Generally speaking, nothing's changed. It's Texas and Georgia and Alabama, etc. I think where it gets interesting is you get down to the 4 and 5 and 6 teams. Give me your run through as far as you can, and we're not asking you to predict, but right now, if I said give me your top 6 in the year.
Well, I could probably go 5 or 6 deep. I think Texas is the best team in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, obviously, the Arch Manning era is getting ready to start, but they have a lot of good, skilled people now. They got to go to Georgia, okay, and they got to go to Ohio State, so that's going to be tough. But I like their overall athletic ability. I think Georgia's the second best team in the league right now, and third is probably going to be Alabama. Fourth is some. It's I tell you my dark horse pick. After talking to a lot of people, had a chance to spend some pretty good time talking to the LSU coach, and
Brian
Kelly. He absolutely loves this roster. He said, well, I was standing right next to him when he said, this is the best roster we've had since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And so it may be his best roster ever. So I think that's a team you're going to have to look out before. If you can keep Lagway healthy, if he gets through, I like the Gators to be in there somewhere and to beat some people that are going to be hard to beat. I think Alabama to me is one of the most intriguing stories in all of college
football. They could
football.
go either way, couldn't they?
Yeah, you don't know. But what's key is when Kalen DeBoer left Washington to go to Alabama, he took the staff he wanted with him, except his offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, who ran the incredible offenses. He stayed to coach in the NFL. It didn't work out. Now Ryan Grubb is back with Kalen DeBoer, and I was in Tuscaloosa in May. I said, "Is this a big deal?" And the guy on the staff said, "This is a really big deal." So I think Alabama's got a chance. Now, Alabama's got to go to Georgia, and so that's going to be an interesting game. And so, but really, this year is going to be like last year in the SEC in this regard. There were a lot of really good teams in the SEC. There were no great teams in the SEC last year. No. And I think the same is going to be the case this year. And it'll just come down to who wins that handful of games when they play each other.
And the quarterbacks, there's some great ones, and there's some teams that we don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you about what I call the months of scorched earth Saturdays. We're going to bring our buddy Scott Carter in here and let him get in on this because it involves. Good evening to you, Scott. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
All good.
Say hello to my man, Tony. So what we're talking about here, and this is what I have deemed. I told Scott, if it comes out, I want to make sure I get credit for the term. Months of scorched earth Saturdays. Now, they don't open up with gangbusters. A lot of teams don't, including Georgia. They have a couple of easy ones. Florida starts with one patty cake and another team that won't be that challenging. But when you get to this third game, listen to the schedule, Tony, and tell me. And everybody's got a patch in here. I know.
Right.
This is Florida. Think of it. All right. They got their first 12. And maybe they go 2-0. Then all they got to do is go to LSU for a night game on the 13th of September. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Right back out of that, and they get to go to Miami to play. Okay.
Yeah.
Another ranked team. But they get a chance to get off for a week. An open date, they'll need it because the next week comes maybe the biggest game ever in the swamp. Could be, if they're still number one, the Texas Longhorns and Arch Manning for October 4th, okay? And it's okay. Well, they get past them. Now they got to go to Texas A&M. Tony, that is scorched earth if I've ever heard it.
That is a brutal schedule, and you get to play Mississippi State, take a week off, and go to Jacksonville.
Right, exactly.
Ole Miss and Oxford,
Oh,
Tennessee, and
we haven't
Gainesville.
got to Georgia and Ole Miss and all that yet. That's down the line, But what do you think there, Scott? Is that kind of scorched earth?
That's a good nickname for it.
Hmm.
I see it a lot like last year, guys. Florida's season, it can go off the rails early like it did last year, or they can gain that momentum or, kind of keep that momentum they built toward the end of last year when they seem to figure some things out. But, the game that just stands out to me, buddy, it will always be that Miami game. We know that history has been unkind to Florida in recent decades. They only play so often, every few years. And, it didn't go well for them last year in the swamp, certainly. And that's when really everything turned up on Billy Napier. And then the Texas A&M loss magnified it. And they just kind of puddled along there for about a month until they finally found their way. So, but they'll go in. DJ Lagway is the key to it all. I mean, if you're a Florida fan and you're finally thinking that the Gators, after 11 years now, the college football playoff, is this the year they finally get to join the party? And he's the reason why everybody thinks that this might finally be the year. And I know Billy Napier, is all in on him, and DJ's doing everything they're asking. I think he's making really good progress throwing the ball. I think his shoulder, is coming along nice. So we'll see what it looks like come fall, guys. But yeah, buddy, no doubt that stretch that you mentioned there, that is going to be just so telling for what kind of team Florida has in 2025.
Yeah, Tony Scott, we talked about this kid. I jumped on him early. I mean, I declared myself in 4 years played him down, just based on watching video and what I saw. I'm not a genius. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Stevie Wonder could have picked him out. He was so good. But I just loved how he got rid of the ball, his accuracy, his mobility, his running ability. When I saw him play at Willis, and when he got on the field, I said, and I'm not saying that just to brag, he's going to be not a good one. He's going to be a great one. Well, he's probably even exceeded my expectations as a freshman. So how good, and I'll ask Scott and then Tony, how good can DJ Lagway actually be, and what makes him so good?
Well, I mean, I think he's got a chance he's the biggest recruit the Gators have had since Tim Tebow. So that's all you need to know in terms of hype. I think he has that potential to be that great quarterback that has a chance to be in the Heisman conversation. Is this in my timeline, I was thinking maybe more next year. But I mean, he's going to have the opportunity this year to prove his worth. I mean, with that stretch, if you win a couple of those games, it's going to build the confidence of not only him, but everybody around him. And you look at their roster, I do think this is the best Florida roster on paper that Billy's ever had, and probably since really the 2019 season. Mullen's second year when they went 11-2 and won the Orange Bowl. I think this probably from top to bottom is the Gators' best roster. So the pieces are there, but it all comes down to, does he stay healthy? I think he's got a good offensive line, and so far, I mean, you got to look at what he's done. He's 6-0, I think, in starts that he finished. The only game he started and they lost was the Georgia game. But, of course, he went out in the second quarter with that injury, and they were in the game, I think, leading at the time. So his track record is very hopeful for Florida fans. But we'll see, man. It's not going to be easy, as you guys know.
All right, let's reach down and take off our glasses, our orange and blue glasses. Let's ask Mr. Barnhart, Mr. College Football, how far off are we just being too homer in here? And how good can he be, and would he be a Heisman candidate?
No, I think he can absolutely be a Heisman candidate. I mean, just look at what a little bit of tape that I've seen on him is, first of all, he's got a rocket arm. All right, he's got the powerful arm that you want to have. He has the mobility to move around in the pocket, which is what you've got to be able to do and escape pressure and make yourself a dual threat. And then he has good instincts when you watch him play. He's avoids pressure, things of that nature. So I think he has a chance to be a great player. I just think the combination of strong arm escapability, and he obviously runs the offense so well. I think Billy Napier has a lot of confidence in him. So he can listen. If the Gators win some of these early games, that's going to get a lot of people's attention. And so I'm anxious to see how good he can be.
I think the secret is, and you can help me with this, Scott. What I've heard and read and seen, and what little of video I've seen, is that Florida's, I hate to use room, but their wide receiver room is really great. And Billy Gonzalez is as good as there is. I mean, he puts guys in the league every year. They've got so much young talent over there. I'm telling you. I even heard one rumor. I don't know if they would even consider running 4 wides again. That would really be amazing since they're an 11 team that like to use the tight end. But Scott, am I crazy? I mean, these kids they got 2 Wilson kids who are something special, not to mention kids third of it for UCLA. They are loaded at wide receiver, aren't they, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, this is a really good group they do have. I mean, I think when you look at, getting Eugene Wilson back, and, I look at him last year, everybody got excited going into the season after his freshman year 2 years ago. They were like, well, this is their next great player. And he may be like your third best receiver now if this Dallas Wilson, the true freshman. And I saw him enough in the spring. You guys have been around. You know what elite talent looks like when you see it, and we don't see it nearly as often as people talk about it. But he looks to me like he's one of those guys with elite talent that, quite frankly, I haven't seen the last few years at Florida. So you add him to the mix, Nashawn Montgomery, another true freshman.
Yeah.
And, the UCLA kid that you mentioned. Yeah, that's a good group to have. And they also have Hayden Hansen at tight end, who a lot of people think can play in the NFL. And I think, that's not far off. I mean, I saw him this spring. He looks so good physically right now. So a lot of the pieces are there. Really, on offense, I think all the pieces are there as far as the offensive line. You got Jaden Ball and Jacoby Jackson in the backfield. And then you have those receivers and tight ends we talk about. So really, I mean, offensively at least, this team looks like it could be the best Florida offense in since that year with Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, if we were telling you secrets on Florida that you might not know, this is what we'd be telling you. Tony told me some things about teams like Georgia that you might not know, because sometimes the national media misses the narrative, and these are such talented kids. You haven't heard much about them, but you're going to hear about these kids. They're great. Now, look, I'm not saying Florida's going to go undefeated or whatever, but if Lagway stays healthy and he mentioned Jaden Ball. I love Jaden Ball. I've loved him since I saw him the first time. They are loaded in the running back. They got as good a running back room as anybody, and their offensive line is the best they've had in years. So, again, you still got to get the right number of people on the field. You still got to call the play and execute it and not make mistakes. Tony, tell me some secrets about Georgia that we might not know.
Georgia has not had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2019.
That's amazing.
Okay. Georgia was 15th in the Southeastern Conference in rushing. Okay. Their offensive line was okay. That's about the best I can say. So that's got to be number one. Everybody's worried about the quarterback, No, I think they're going to be fine. Gunnar Stockton's going to be fine. Now, does he have the incredible talent of an Arch Manning? No, he's not that kind of a player. He is a player that knows how to lead. Players know how to follow. A coach told me a long time ago that just if you want to know who the starting quarterback is, just go into the locker room. The players will tell you who the starting quarterback is because they've made up their mind. So I think Georgia's got a chance to bounce back. Again, Georgia's not a great team. But if they can address those issues that I just mentioned to you, they have upgraded their wide receiver. Here's the other thing. Georgia led the nation in drop passes with 36. With 36. So you put all these things together I just gave you, you wonder how that was a team that won the Southeastern Conference championship and beat Texas not once but twice. All my Georgia friends were just complaining about this, complaining about that. They don't like Bobo, the offense, on and on. I said, guys, they won 11 games. They won the SEC championship, and they beat Texas not only once but twice. That's a pretty good year. So I think Georgia's going to have a good team. All those teams they had to play on the road last year, Miami, Ole Miss, and Alabama, they all come to Athens this year. Okay, that's going to be an advantage. So I think Georgia's got they've got a good team. I don't think they're as good as Texas, but you know what? We're going to find out because Texas comes to Athens on November 18th.
Yeah. And that brings up the next question and the next point. Based on my limited knowledge and not having seen him play live and only be able to watch video, I still love Arch Manning. I mean, I love this guy because he's an incredible runner. He's an incredible runner. And the only thing he might get hurt, but he could throw the ball with accuracy. He's smart. He knows the game. He's got the heritage in the game, obviously, with his family. He's gifted. He's a great kid. He probably didn't get handled exactly right at Texas by Sark. Maybe that's the way Manning's wanted him to do it. It was be coming to it slow, but he should have been, as we see now, should have started earlier. And of course, they didn't have it at the end. And as the evidence by the fact they got nobody drafted, he didn't get drafted. So with that, I will bring in our buddy Carlton, and we'll have one final question for everybody about Arch Manning and we'll let Tony go back to his. Well, he's not getting milk and cookies yet. It's too early for that, but he'll have his bowl of cereal and go to bed.
There you go.
To Carlton Reese, guys.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hi there.
All right, so we're having this discussion about we're evaluating. We're evaluators, right? Yeah. It used to be that's what people had to go on. Their local columnist was one who told them, is this guy going to be any good or whatever? But let's just take a real honest look at Arch Manning and see if he's the real deal, what his big stumbling blocks, or if there are any, what they will be, and how good he can be. Because I heard a Texas sports writer say this on the Feinbaum show less than a month ago. And I know he said it obliquely, but he said it's possible that Arch Manning could be the greatest quarterback who ever lived. Okay, that's what he said. That covers a lot. So let's start with you, Tony.
Well, is this possible? Yes, he has the skill set. He does, as Sarkisian said, he doesn't look like Eli. He doesn't look like Peyton. He looks like his grandfather. Okay, he is more like his grandfather. For those of us who are old enough, and Buddy and I are old enough, I got to see Archie Manning play between the hedges in Athens, and Archie Manning was a great quarterback with speed and power. And they put in John Vaught, the coach, put in a sprint out passing game just to take advantage of what he could do. And so I think Arch, the grandson, has the great skills, and we'll see. Sark's one of the best play callers in the business, and so we will see. That's a brutal schedule, but could he become one of the greatest? Sure, anybody with that amount of talent could do a lot of things, but we will. That's why we play the games. We're going to find out.
You think he will, Tony?
Do I think he will be the greatest player of all time?
I think he.
I think he has the talent to be at that elite level. But again, we're going to have to wait and see.
Okay, you're not going to go there. All right, let's give Scott a chance, and then we'll give Carlton a chance to wrap it up. And let Tony go back to his bowl of oatmeal.
I mean, I agree with everything Tony just said there. I mean, the potential there for greatness, there's no doubt about that. And let's face it, if you are a big-time college quarterback or NFL and your last name's Manning, I'm not betting against him. I mean, whatever it is that is in their lineage, it works when they get into the spotlight. I was curious, as like Tony was saying, he's more like Archie. Well, how big was Archie? I don't really, because that was a little bit before my time.
He's about 6'1.5", 6'2", and maybe 190, right? Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, because Peyton
with really good speed.
Oh yeah, I know. I've seen the scrambles and the runs. I was thinking he was a little smaller than Peyton, but I didn't know what exactly was.
Peyton is,
he's 6'5", I think, right?
Yeah, I think he's bigger. So yeah, no, he's smaller. But think about Tony. If you ever saw Roger Staubach run, you probably didn't. He is incredible escapability. I mean, he was just had that and speed, and he DQ, and he just had so much skill at running the football. What a player! What a guy with guts that he had. So you think he will be the great one, Scott?
I think he's going to be an excellent quarterback. Yes, I mean, we talk about great, the best ever. Hey, if he beats,
nobody wants to go there. Come on.
If he well, let's face it, buddy. If he beats the Gators in that big game you're talking about, I mean, will that be he'll be the first Manning to win at the Swamp? At least never Peyton. We know that one. I don't know about the other guys. I have to go back and look.
That's a good point.
So I'll give him the edge there. If he wins that game, I'll say what you want me to say. He'll be the greatest ever.
I don't know. I'm not willing to say he will either. But I do think he has the skill level, Carlton, to be that. If things go right for him, he looks to me, and you've seen him a little bit, Carlton, Reese. What do you think?
Well, the Manning family does not produce anything mediocre. I mean, just the fact that he's a Manning, he's going to be great. I think it's unfair for a sports writer to make a claim like this guy's going to be the greatest ever. The kid's in college, for God's sake. I think that's kind of like a Bianchi thing to write, just to kind of stoke a fire or something.
Yeah, I get his name in there.
And so I don't like it when I hear somebody say so. A columnist writes that for himself to more than he does to make an accurate prediction. But yeah, there are no signs that this kid's not going to be great.
Is there anybody, and I'll let you go with this, Tony, we'll go around. Is there anybody that you saw for the first time and said, this guy's it, and he turned out to be it? Tony?
That Herschel Walker guy was pretty good.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. No, as soon as I saw him in person for the first time, I said, this guy's no, never. And I tell people when people talk about running backs in the history of the SEC, it's Herschel and Bo, and then it's everybody else. So,
yeah. All right, that's fair enough, Scott.
No, I mean Herschel Walker. I was 9 or 10 years old when his freshman season, and I still remember watching him run over Bill Bates. Man, best college football player I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I was going to go basketball, I'd go Pete Maravich. Go ahead, Carlton. You got.
Well, for me, it's baseball. I got that feeling when I saw Tino Martinez the first time when he was at the University of Tampa. He came to Gainesville, and I remember watching that thinking, this guy's like a college guy playing against little leaguers. That's what it seemed like to me. Like there wasn't anything you could pitch to him. He was so far above everyone. It was like a Herschel Walker type thing. And I remember thinking, this is the greatest baseball player I've ever seen. And he went on to have a great career. He's not a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but that was the impression I got.
Okay, there you go. All right, listen, Tony, good night. Thank you, buddy, so much for everything.
All right, guys, take care.
Keep us in the loop and let us know what's going on with you, and when you come into Gainesville, so we can all be there to celebrate. All right.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thanks very much. If you could stay for a minute, Scott, I want to get into a couple of things with Carlton after the spot about the changes in the basketball schedule, and Florida's basketball schedule, especially its non-conference, looks awesome. The news coming out today who they're going to play. I'm sure you know all about that, Scott, but there's been some other good changes, interesting, like the addition of coaching challenges. So I want to talk about that as well. And I got the schedule in front of me. So we'll talk about that. And can you realize no college baseball team had made it to the College World Series in 2024, made it this year? Wow. First time since 57. Let me tell you about our friends at Meldon Law. They do it so well, do it right, and have been doing it that way. They serve the people of North Central Florida and other places as lawyers. Also, they're great Gator fans. They support the program. They're the only official law firm of the University of Florida, and they serve them well. They do a lot of advertising and sponsorships on their programming. They sponsored this show for a long time and others. Shane Matthews show, Pot Up with Matthews. They're just good people. They're really good people to know. And boy, lawyers are great to have, especially when you need one. You don't think much about it till you need one. You realize, wow, how lucky I am to have someone like Jeffrey Melton to call him up and say, I need some help. And he'll tell me, I might not be able to be the best person to do this. But make a call to somebody who can do a better job in this area, and you get with him. So it's not just about necessarily getting your money. It's about getting with the right person. You want to check it out. They won't back down. Belden Law. All right. Here is the non-conference schedule for Florida in basketball. And kind of, if you think about it, they added Duke today. Arizona and Las Vegas. I got UConn and New York City. Now they got Duke was added today. And, of course, they've added Kentucky back home and home. That is going to be fun, Scott.
Yeah, I'm all for every one of those games. I mean, you love to see the big matchups, and it's always better, I think, when Kentucky makes a stop, in Gainesville, gets the fans a little more pumped up. And first time at Duke since 1998. How about that? So that's, 27 years ago? So, yeah, I mean, great schedule. It's going to be tough. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with football, buddy. I mean, that non-conference schedule, you got to come up with a nickname for it, because I don't know if the scorched earth works since they're playing on the hardwood, but it's certainly going to be Todd Golden's going to know a lot about his team after that stretch.
For sure, no question. I love it, don't you, Carlton?
Absolutely. I mean, especially after this year where the non-conference schedule, everyone's kind of pissing and moaning about it. I mean, it kind of wasn't their fault. There were good teams that ended up not being as good as we thought they were going to be. It was just fortunate that the SEC was so good that was their preparation for the NCAA tournament. I mean, you need that tough non-conference schedule to get you ready for the SEC. So I'm looking forward to that. I remember that game at Duke. The Duke fans were chanting "Stick to football" or something like that, and I said, I don't think they realize how good this Florida basketball team is, and they ended up being pretty good.
Yeah, some changes, Scott. The game's going to get longer now because they have multiple rule changes made in basketball. They can allow challenges to review out-of-bounds calls and goaltending and basket interference, as well as modifications to the challenge rule and also the continuous motion on shot attempts. So they're also looking at, they may move toward a basketball to quarters from halves. I kind of like all those, Scott. What about you?
I mean, I like the challenges because I do think what they're hoping to do there is to help the flow of the end of the games, because some of these games, the last 2 minutes can last 30 minutes off the clock. And it's like, rein that in a little bit, let coaches know beforehand what they have in their pocket. And I think that will help everybody. The quarters, halves, I'm kind of mixed on that. I mean, I'm so used to that being a differential force or a factor between the NBA and college. I've always kind of liked it. But, I don't think it's going to be a huge thing either way for me as a fan or an observer. But everything changes. So if that's what they're going to do, it's going to be 4 10-minute quarters. Is that what they're talking about?
They're talking. It's not done yet. They're just talking about it.
Okay, yeah. So I don't have strong feelings one way or the other.
Carlton?
Yeah, I don't want to go to quarters. I like the halves. There's got to be a really good reason to make a change like that. It sounds to me just changing it for the sake of changing it to be like other sports, but they've been playing that way for so long. I'm used to it. I like the record books not being skewed by whatever difference that makes somehow. I mean, I don't know why we really need to change it. There's probably a decent enough reason, but for me, it's probably not good enough to change the whole thing.
I grew up with them playing quarters. I kind of like it. All right, so final thing on this, and then let's Scott go for sure. Phil Steele's ratings are out. Of course, the ratings are out now for several magazines. ESPN's ratings had Florida ranked 11th in the SEC. Hello. Think about it. You could be 8th in the SEC and still make the national playoffs. But now the latest is that number one, Florida didn't have a single game starting at noon this year. I don't know if that's good or bad. I kind of like the early games, but I know that it's not a good TV spot. And Phil Steele came out in the national unit rankings, number 10 at quarterback. That's kind of low, I'd say, for Lagway. Number 14 at running back. That might be low too. 18 at wide receiver. 5 on the offensive line, 10 on the defensive line, 25 at linebacker, 10 on the secondary, and 13 on special teams. I just talked about, Scott, the national media being a beat behind. They're definitely a beat behind on the quarterback. They're definitely a beat behind the running back, and they're definitely a beat behind on the wide receivers. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know they're basing a lot of that on past production and guys coming back, but probably not factored in the talent that you see. Especially again, I go back to Dallas Wilson. He just is a different looking guy to me, and I've seen him make enough plays now on the field. I know he's going to be a contributor right away as long as he stays healthy. So I get it. DJ being 10th, I mean, I guess they're just wanting to see a bigger sample size for him. Maybe that's why he's that low. I would have him in the top 6 or 7 personally. But yeah, I mean, Phil Steele, I mean, he studies this stuff. So he's looking at all these schools and a lot closer than I am. So maybe he knows something I don't, buddy.
A little bit too much.
What's Arch Manning's sample size? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Were those rankings, unit rankings you were given, buddy? Are those national or those?
Those are national, but that's what he's a stat.
Those are top 20 in all of them. He has in 11th in the SEC.
No, he does. That's ESPN.
Oh, okay.
There's other picks. This is just the unit rankings we're reading off there, and he's a stat wonk. He goes, look at other numbers, and if you go other numbers, sometimes you're going to be off a little bit. And unless that's got to go to bed, he's got to get up where it works. Any final thoughts on the World Series coming up, Scott? Murray State fan?
Yeah, I think I'd love to see Murray State win. It'd be a great story. I saw their video today when they first got to the ballpark out there, and for those guys, it's like stepping in the Yankee Stadium because I've seen where they played. It looks more like a high school field than what we're used to in the SEC. So good for them. My sleeper pick is probably Coastal Carolina. I know a lot of Gator fans won't like that because of their coach, but I saw them play up there, and I mean they're a good team and they got some mojo working. So we'll see. But that's interesting what you said. First time since 1957, none of the teams have returned. Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. It'll be interesting. Hopefully, Sully's doing some good recruiting. Maybe he'll be back in there. He's got some good players going in, according to what I'm reading. But I'm not.
Got to stay healthy.
For sure. Hey, Scott Carter, thank you. You can read him on Florida Gate. By the way, you have a publication. One of the few print publications. Talk about it.
Well, yeah, Two Bits Magazine is something we've been doing, I think, since 2016, and it only comes out a couple times a year. Yeah. But it's a nice printed product. I think we talked, last time how guys from our age and generation, I still like to hold that stuff, and it looks nice. And you can't find it anymore. I mean, you can't find that stuff much anymore. You go through an airport. Remember how the airport used to you go to one of those little gift shops and there would just be so many magazines. Now it's like only a few. It's amazing, man.
Yeah. Well, how about saving one for Carlton and me? We're interested in print. We love it.
All right. I'll send you one.
All right, Scott.
See you, fellas.
Here's that comment. All right. Carlton, we're going to get down to a couple of points real fast here in the remaining minutes. One of them is a new column you're writing called Looking Back, and we're going to try to get it published tonight. There's an announcement on Gator Bait tonight about Carlton's column. I think it's a great idea because you had a long and storied career of covering the Gators. So why don't you just take 2 minutes and tell us what this new column, Looking Back, is going to be about?
Well, when you're in the off, we're in that kind of dead season for Florida, so we're kind of looking for good narratives, and I think it's always a good time to kind of, like you said, looking back. So I kind of got that itch. I want to write about some of my personal experiences dealing, when I was a student at the University of Florida and going to games and even covering them. The first story I wrote. It's pretty long. If you don't mind, about a 2,000-word slog. I hope it's entertaining for people, and I want it to. Hopefully, it'll inspire people to kind of come up with their own stories, and remembering back when the first one that we're going to run is goes back to my sophomore year of college and traveling to the Florida State game in Tallahassee. I know probably the big one in that year that everyone talks about is the Auburn game, and that was great. I could tell a story about it, but the road trip to Tallahassee for me had so many kind of side elements that were special to me. So I wrote about it, and I think some of the people who read it who are on Gator Bait were probably at that game, and they have strong memories too, and hopefully it kind of ignites that. So and then down the road there'll be more of my own kind of personal reflections and looking back, but maybe some other I'll talk to other people and get their experiences too. It's not just about me, but I know more about my experiences than anybody else's. So we're gonna start from there. It's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be fun reading for people, especially if you're a Gator fan. There'll be some names pop up that you'll be like, yeah, I remember that. It's fun to reminisce.
Well, personal journeys are all part of it. That's what makes it special. And you have had a good one, so we look forward to reading all of that. And more and more about Carlton does some fine writing. We're also going to publish a book. We're probably 80% of the way there. I know I can hear Fran's typing right now on a book which is yet to be titled. If you want to share with folks about this basketball book coming up.
Yeah, well, if Franz is listening, hit send, please. Yeah, in fact, going through all of Franz's material, kind of, it wasn't looking way back. It was kind of looking back at this year was kind of an inspiration to kind of do what I'm doing. And you and I talked about how this might be kind of a fun thing. Franz's book, takes us right back to, our recent memory of following this Gator basketball season, that ended up with a third national championship. But he does more than just recounts the scores and the plays, but kind of his journey along the way, where the people he stayed with, and, where they ate in San Antonio, things of that nature. And what kind of players and coaches were saying behind the scenes or during press conferences that people may not remember. And Franz has his own kind of peculiar way of putting his kind of spin, his vision of it. And if anyone who kind of went through that entire season from beginning to end, they were part of that ride, and they remember how special it was, even though it just happened. And Franz kind of encapsulates it just perfectly. It's going through all his stories kind of took me back into those moments, how I felt, when Florida during the pre-SEC schedule, when they played North Carolina, and it looked like they were going to lose that game, what I felt then, and what the atmosphere was, when Todd Golden was going through his trouble, and how people were sticking by him, and some people didn't want to stick by him. They were ready to hang the guy out to dry. And now you don't hear any of that, but it kind of brings all those emotions back, and that puts you back in that moment. It's fun to relive it, and that's kind of what his book does.
And I hope that'll help us break through some of this dry period where we're talking about NIL deals. We're talking about all the way the general managers now are running the programs. Everything is a job. And we hope we get back to the personal part of it, because Gator fans have that personal connection more
That's
than
right.
most. And I think it's going to help us do that. And finally, one of the finest editors I know also is the editor of the Ocala magazine, which I wish you'd talk about. I'm proud that you asked me to write for it once in a while. And Carlton is an entrepreneur, and he does his stuff on his own. He's amazing. His stuff is really good, especially if you live in Ocala, Gainesville. Tell us about the Ocala.
Well, it's a labor of love, and one of my favorite parts in the magazine is called Ocala Stories. It's by someone named Buddy Martin, who his roots go way back, even deeper than mine in the Ocala, Marion County area. And but the magazine it's beginning in 2026 will be a seasonal 4 issues a year. Our inaugural issue is out. It's all narratives and compelling stories written at a high level. It's not like a lot of lifestyle city magazines that you'll see in any city that are more of an advertorial nature, a calendar, or nothing wrong with that. But there are people, buddy, that enjoy a well-written story and want to get into it and want to hold it in their hands. And that number of people, it's really diminished in the last decade, but I think it's coming back, and people are understanding the value of holding that in your hand. Scott even mentioned that, and that's what we're trying to recapture. We're trying to put something that's pretty and well written and compelling in someone's hands, so they're not just kind of swiping on a screen and going to the next app and all that.
Thank you for doing that. And by the way, I think you said something early on in our discussions. I asked you what this magazine's about. You said for people who like to read, and that's not as that's something special. So people who like to read gonna like to read that. So thank you for all your contributions. Looking forward to your new column. I hope to get it published tonight on the website. And looking good and looking back. So thank you very much, Carlton, for all the good work.
Buddy, thank you, and I'm looking forward to your next yarn in the Ocala, your Ocala stories.
Thank you. All right, I'm looking forward to getting it out tonight. So,
all right,
Carlton Reese in the Ocala, and then Gateway. All right, folks, we just wrap this up saying about thank you to our guest tonight. Football is coming around the corner. We're going to be a lot more of this stuff going on soon. We're going to ramp it up as we get around the corner and get past the vacation. And thank you to Tony Barnhart, really one of my favorite people, and just love having Tony on. Scott Carter always brings something fresh to the program, and of course, Carlton Reese. Some of you asked about Allie, Pete Wilbur. She'll be back. She's on vacation, probably next week. We'll see. So, meanwhile, tomorrow night we're back with Ben Troop and with Lauren Meadows is back from Paris. Yeah, that's where he's been. And, of course, Franz Beer as well. So let me tell you about Titan MRI and Imaging. It's not Titan MRI Imaging, and they acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorio started Highfield MRI in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging has 3 locations to serve you, 2 in Gainesville with Park Avenue location, and now the Lincoln Center, and 1 in Lake City serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging offers the same great customer service as always. They accept insurance, or you can go through their convenient self-pay program options. They also offer CAT scans and x-rays and ultrasounds. That bigger MRI area for you. If you get claustrophobic, they look after you there and make sure you can get easy scheduling. And if you can't get there during the daytime, they'll make a schedule for at night. And that's unusual. So to accommodate you, they want to be the best possible experience. No one likes to go get an MRI, but we all have to have them. And if you're going to go in and have one where you don't have to freak out about it being claustrophobic. So nothing worse than that. So be sure and check that out. Again, thanks to Meldon Law. Good friends over there take care of us a big way. We got 4 locations to serve you in Ocala, Gainesville, in Wilson and Lake City. Anything that you need to do with law. And of course, if you want to go talk Gators, they're available for that as well. So we will we'll go off with a couple of comments here. One about Robert Turner. They get a chance to get him on, and I can't wait for Florida's offensive line and running back rooms to get the job done and win a championship. Honestly, out of our offensive line will be the difference between barely winning a game versus dominating a game. That's right. I think they'll be happy, and they will one day be able to accommodate the Gators with a dominating game because they're building a program that's built for that kind of stuff. So thanks to them, and thanks to you, and thanks to everybody. Thanks to my wife, Dawn, for staying up tonight and putting up with me during this time. It's always good to have someone there at your side. Tomorrow night, as I said, we're going to have our good friends back. And don't forget Rob Brown in the morning. Rob Brown does a terrific job on his show, SEC Sidelines. He and Brendan Martin. Check them out. On behalf of everybody, I'm Buddy Martin. Have a great night.